Story number 1, The Self-Crushing Lumberjack. Our first story takes us to Nashville, Tennessee, 2017. Meet Brandon, a 28-year-old who looked at basic tree cutting safety and thought, "Nah, I'll do it my own way." Brandon was at a friend's property helping clear some land. There was a large oak tree, about 40 feet tall, maybe 18 inches in diameter, that needed to come down. Brandon volunteered to cut it. Professional arborists follow very specific safety protocols: assess the lean, clear the fall zone, make a directional notch cut, make a back cut, and get out of the way. The most critical rule: never stand under or near the tree while it's falling. Brandon decided to improvise. His plan was to stay underneath the tree and guide it as it fell with his hands. He thought if he stood under the tree, he could control which direction it fell. His friends immediately said this was insane. "Dude, that tree weighs like 2,000 pounds. You're not Superman. This is how people die." Brandon insisted he knew what he was doing. He'd watched YouTube videos. How different could it be? Extremely different. Fatally different. Brandon fired up the chainsaw and started cutting. He made a notch on one side, then moved to make the back cut while standing directly under the tree's center of gravity. As the tree started to fall, Brandon stayed put, hands raised, thinking he could push a multi-ton tree in the direction he wanted. The tree began falling. Brandon tried to push against the trunk, but pushing against 3,500 pounds in free fall is like trying to stop a train with your hands. The tree fell directly on Brandon. The trunk hit him across his back and head with devastating force. The impact was instantly fatal. His skull and spine were crushed. His rib cage collapsed. His friends called 911, but there was nothing they could do. The tree had him completely pinned. Emergency responders arrived with heavy equipment. It took them over an hour to safely lift the tree. The medical examiner determined death was instantaneous from massive blunt force trauma to head and torso, consistent with being crushed by falling tree. A professional arborist later reviewed the incident. The victim violated the most fundamental rule of tree cutting: clear the fall zone. He thought he could guide the tree with his hands, but physics doesn't work that way. A falling tree has tremendous momentum. Human strength is irrelevant. Never stand in the fall zone of a tree being cut. You cannot control a falling tree with your hands. It weighs thousands of pounds, and gravity is non-negotiable. Professional tree services exist for a reason. If you're cutting down a tree large enough to kill you, hire professionals. Your YouTube education is not adequate safety equipment. Story 2. The Cliff Edge Influencer. Moving to Yosemite National Park, California, 2021, for another story proving that Instagram likes are absolutely not worth your life. Meet Melissa, a 28-year-old yoga instructor and Instagram influencer with about 50,000 followers. Her brand was finding zen in extreme places, yoga poses on mountaintops, cliff edges, narrow rock formations. Her followers loved it. Melissa was visiting Yosemite with her boyfriend, who served as her photographer. They hiked to Taft Point, a popular viewpoint with a 3,000-foot drop straight down to Yosemite Valley. Signs everywhere warn, "Danger, cliff edge, stay back." Melissa saw a flat rock outcropping about 6 feet beyond the guardrail, right at the cliff edge. Perfect spot for a yoga pose with the valley behind her. Her boyfriend expressed concern. "Babe, that's really close to the edge. Maybe we should just use the viewpoint area." Melissa insisted. This was going to be her best photo yet. She'd done poses in risky spots before. She'd be careful. She climbed over the guardrail and walked out onto the rock outcropping. Melissa set up for scorpion pose, a handstand variation where you balance on your hands with your back arched and feet coming forward over your head. This is an advanced pose requiring significant balance even on flat, stable surfaces. Melissa was attempting it on a rock at a cliff edge with a 3,000-foot drop. Her boyfriend positioned himself to take photos. Melissa kicked up into the handstand. For a moment, she was stable. Her boyfriend snapped several photos. Then, a gust of wind hit. Yosemite is known for unpredictable wind at high elevations. The gust wasn't even particularly strong, maybe 20-25 miles per hour, but that's enough to affect someone in a handstand at a cliff edge. Melissa's balance shifted. She tried to compensate, but she was already tilting. At a cliff edge, there was nowhere to recover. Melissa fell backward, off the rock outcropping, over the edge of the cliff. Her boyfriend screamed. The tourists watching screamed. Park rangers called a search and rescue helicopter. It took about 45 minutes to locate Melissa's body on the valley floor. At 3,000 feet, you're in free fall for approximately 13 seconds, reaching speeds over 120 miles per hour before impact. Death was instantaneous. Melissa's last Instagram story, posted 30 minutes before the fall, showed her hiking to Taft Point. Found the perfect spot for an epic yoga shot. Sometimes you have to risk it for the content. The tragic irony of that caption became a rallying cry for a movement encouraging influencers to prioritize safety over content. Yosemite released a statement. This is entirely preventable. Guardrails and warning signs exist for a reason. No photograph is worth your life. Guardrails and warning signs exist for a reason. Don't climb over them for photos. Cliff edges are not yoga studios. Wind is unpredictable. Your Instagram feed is not worth your life. If you're thinking risk it for the content, you're about to become a cautionary tale. Choose life over likes. Story number 3. The gas station explosion. Heading to Las Vegas, Nevada, 2018 for yet another reminder that gasoline and cigarettes make explosions, not exceptions to basic chemistry. Meet Tyler, a 22-year-old who was about to learn why every gas station in America has massive no smoking signs. Tyler pulled up to a gas station around 9 p.m., got out, inserted his credit card, and started pumping gas. Then Tyler did something that defies all logic. He pulled out a cigarette and lit it while gas was actively flowing into his tank. Let me be clear about the chemistry. Gasoline evaporates quickly, creating vapor that pools around the fuel tank opening. This vapor is extremely flammable, more flammable than liquid gasoline. It mixes with oxygen to create a perfect explosive atmosphere. Every gas pump has warning stickers. Every gas station has no smoking signs. The warnings are everywhere because this scenario has killed people thousands of times. Tyler lit his cigarette and continued pumping. A woman at the next pump saw him and shouted, "Hey, put that out! You're gonna blow us all up!" Tyler looked at her, annoyed. "Relax, I do this all the time." Famous last words. The gasoline vapor around Tyler's fuel tank opening ignited from his cigarette. The flame traveled into the vapor cloud, then down into the fuel tank. Tyler's gas tank detonated. The fireball engulfed Tyler, his car, and the gas pump. Tyler was immediately engulfed in flames, doused in gasoline from the exploding tank. He ran about 20 feet before collapsing. Fire department arrived within 4 minutes. They extinguished the flames, but Tyler was already gone. Third-degree burns over 95% of his body, smoke inhalation, and cardiac arrest from the trauma. The security camera footage captured everything. Tyler pumping gas, lighting the cigarette, the woman's warning, Tyler dismissing her, and then the explosion. The footage is used nationally in fire safety training. The fire marshal's report, quote, "Victim willfully violated clearly posted safety regulations by smoking while dispensing gasoline. The ignition of gasoline vapors resulted in explosion and fire. Death was the direct result of victim's negligent actions." End quote. A fire safety instructor later said, quote, "This is literally the scenario every no smoking sign is trying to prevent. Gasoline vapor ignites explosively. This young man saw all the warnings, was verbally warned by another customer, and chose to ignore everything. The result was predictable and fatal." End quote. The woman who'd warned him said, quote, "I told him to put it out. He acted like I was being paranoid. I've never seen anyone so confident about something so stupid." End quote. Do not smoke at gas stations, ever. The no smoking signs are not suggestions. Gasoline vapor explodes when exposed to open flame. If you think the rules don't apply to you, you're not special. You're just the next person to learn a fatal lesson. If a stranger is warning you about imminent death, listen. Cigarettes can wait. Your life cannot be restarted. Story number 4. The Bathtub Toaster. Columbus, Ohio, 2016. Time for another entry in the Electricity and Water Are Lethal category, featuring possibly the dumbest water heating method ever conceived. Meet Kevin, a 30-year-old who apparently slept through every electrical safety lesson ever. Kevin was running a bath one evening. After getting in, he decided the water wasn't quite warm enough. A normal person's solution: add more hot water from the tap. Kevin's solution: Kevin looked at his plugged-in toaster on the bathroom counter and thought, if I drop the toaster in the bath, the heating elements will warm the water. Let me be clear about how catastrophically wrong this idea is. Toasters draw significant current, 800 to 1500 watts at 120 volts. They are not waterproof. They will short-circuit immediately when submerged, turning your bathwater into a death trap. But Kevin didn't think it through. He was already in the bath, chest deep in water. He reached over, grabbed the plugged-in toaster, and dropped it into the water. The toaster hit the water and immediately short-circuited. 120 volts of household current started flowing through the bathwater. Kevin's body became the primary path to ground. His muscles contracted involuntarily. He couldn't move, couldn't get out, couldn't call for help. Electrocution in water is particularly deadly because water conducts electricity efficiently throughout the victim's entire body. The current flowed through Kevin's entire body, including his heart. Within 20 to 30 seconds, Kevin's heart stopped. He was still being electrocuted continuously because the outlet wasn't GFCI protected. He slumped in the tub, unconscious, drowning while being electrocuted. Kevin lived alone. Nobody discovered him until the next day when he didn't show up for work. Police found him in the bathtub. The toaster was still in the water, still plugged in, still energized after over 12 hours. The first responder noticed the toaster cord and immediately shut off the breaker before approaching. The medical examiner determined cause of death as electrocution via contact with energized electrical appliance in bathtub, with drowning as contributing factor. An electrical engineer reviewing the case said, "This appears to be a catastrophic misunderstanding of how electrical heating works. The victim thought he could use a toaster as a bathtub heater. When submerged, they immediately short-circuit and turn the water into an electrical conductor. A GFCI outlet would have detected the short circuit and cut power in milliseconds, possibly fast enough to save his life." The really tragic part is that Kevin could have simply run more hot water, used a proper bath heater, or just refilled the tub. Instead, he chose the one method guaranteed to kill him. Kevin's landlord was cited for not having GFCI outlets in the bathroom. The entire building was eventually rewired with proper GFCI protection. Never use electrical appliances in or near a bathtub unless specifically designed for water use. Toasters are not bath heaters. Water and electricity create immediate and fatal hazards. All bathroom outlets should be GFCI protected. A GFCI outlet costs $15 and can save your life. If your solution involves dropping an electrical appliance into water, immediately stop and reconsider everything. Story number 5. The Bull Ring Invasion. Last but not least, we're heading to Fort Worth, Texas, 2015 for a story about why rodeo rings have barriers and why you absolutely should not cross them. Meet Chad, a 27-year-old attending a professional rodeo at the Fort Worth stockyards. Chad had been drinking. Witnesses estimated at least 6 beers over 2 hours. He was feeling confident, rowdy, and apparently invincible. The event was bull riding, professional riders trying to stay on an angry 1,800-pound bull for 8 seconds. These are not domestic cattle. These are bucking bulls, bred for rodeo, powerful, fast, aggressive, and very dangerous. Professional bull riders wear protective gear, helmets, vests, because getting thrown from a bull causes serious injury. The bulls weigh as much as a small car and can run 25 miles per hour. Chad, watching from the stands, apparently decided he could do better, or maybe he just wanted attention. Either way, alcohol convinced him that jumping into the ring was a great idea. Between events, Chad suddenly jumped over the barrier and ran into the ring. Security started running to intercept him, but Chad was closer to the bull chutes. There was a bull in the ring, a 1,900-pound Brahma cross named Undertaker, who had just thrown his rider and was still agitated. Chad started yelling at the bull, waving his arms, acting like a matador. Bulls don't understand jokes. They see a threat and react with aggression. Undertaker saw Chad, stopped, and turned to face him. The bull lowered his head, the universal signal for, "I'm about to charge." Chad, still thinking this was funny, didn't run. He stood there, arms spread, yelling, "Come on!" The bull charged. Bulls accelerate to 25 miles per hour in seconds. Undertaker covered the 40-foot distance in less than 3 seconds. Chad finally realized his mistake and tried to run, but too late. The bull hit Chad with its lowered head, horns catching him in the torso. The impact was like being hit by a truck. But bulls don't just hit, they gore, toss, and trample. Undertaker lifted Chad into the air, threw him about 10 feet, then trampled him. One rib was driven into his liver by the horn, another punctured his lung. The trampling broke multiple bones and caused severe internal bleeding. Rodeo clowns immediately intervened, distracting the bull. Paramedics rushed to Chad, who was conscious but in shock and severe pain. Chad was airlifted to a trauma center. He underwent emergency surgery for internal injuries, ruptured liver, collapsed lung, internal bleeding, broken ribs, shattered pelvis. Despite hours of surgery, Chad died 2 days later. The damage was too extensive. The horn punctured to his liver had caused catastrophic bleeding that couldn't be fully repaired. The Fort Worth stockyards released a statement. This individual willfully entered a restricted area containing a dangerous animal. While we deeply regret this outcome, the responsibility lies with the individual. Professional bull riders commented that Chad had done everything wrong. One said, "Bulls are not pets. They're powerful, unpredictable animals. Even us professionals get seriously injured all the time, and we're trained and sober. This guy was drunk, untrained, and treated it like a joke. Bulls don't joke. Rodeo barriers exist for a reason. Bulls are massive, powerful, aggressive animals weighing nearly a ton and running 25 miles per hour. Professional bull riders spend years training and still get injured regularly. You cannot taunt a bull without consequences. The bull will win, always. Alcohol and dangerous animals are a fatal combination. Barriers and safety protocols exist to keep you alive. Respect them.